Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am T Hunter. Yeah. So today's video is going to be more of like a self-reflection, a little bit on the serious side. So where should I start? Let's see. So as most people know, I am married and I am a mother of a beautiful daughter. But prior to having her, I was working for a mental health agency. And I went through all of the necessary steps to complete my clinical experience hours. I took my licensing exam and I am a licensed therapist. I know I've seen this meme or this quote quite a bit, like on social media, where it says, check on your friends who are always like there for other people, or check on your strong friends because sometimes they need someone to be strong for them. And I feel like that's definitely an element that is overlooked in the mental health community, not only for the clients, but especially for the practitioners. So that is just my backstory as far as what I wanted to talk about today. So I decided to take some time off of work and stay at home with my daughter. I wanted a little bit more time than just a few months with her. And when I was going to have one of my final informal meetings with our site director, I had this idea of, I was gonna, make sure that I got up early, did my hair, do my makeup, be beat to the gods. You know how we like to do, ladies, especially those of us who are transitioning from one chapter of our life into a next. Some of us, I'll just speak for myself. I never want to give the impression that I'm struggling, and I like for people to see me at my best. And there's nothing wrong with taking pride in your appearance at all. Actually, doing my hair and doing makeup, or even just, practicing a regular skincare regimen is a really good way for me to practice self-care. So, but I was just so focused on not looking tired, not looking overwhelmed, not looking drained. So whatever thoughts people might have of me that final day that I would be on site, was hoping that, I just go out with this glorious bang. And that definitely wasn't the case. I was tired. And when it comes to putting on makeup, sometimes I do opt to sleep in versus wake up early enough to prepare and put on makeup. So it was definitely one of those days. And I had the bright idea that I was going to use this tinted moisturizer. Hadn't used it in a while. And whether you are a makeup guru or you are a beginner, ladies, always check that expiration date on the back of the product. So I do have sensitive skin, and I believe that the makeup possibly had expired and I wasn't paying attention, but I was just so concerned about my appearance that I decided, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna have time to do a full face of makeup with foundation, eyeshadow, and, a soft lip, whatever. So I'm just gonna use this tinted moisturizer, maybe pop on some mascara and some gloss and go. And I can't remember if it was soon after I applied it or as I was driving to my former job site that my face just didn't feel right. And when I checked my complexion in the rearview mirror, I had like patches all over my face. I had these like pretty much like mini hives. And I was, I had come too far to turn back then. I had already driven down to the job site. It was just a few minutes shy of the meeting time that I had scheduled. I had to go in. And I remember after finishing the meeting and then coming back home, I was trying to take care of my skin afterwards. If you take care of it beforehand, you're not going to have to try to do damage control if you practice more so the self-care and the preventive measures, especially during times of stress. And I just remember everything that would normally feel soothing to me just felt like my face was on fire. So I believe that those hives were pretty much like my pores just being completely open, and I just felt so raw. And I thought to myself, you put on this expired makeup in hopes of being able to conceal being tired. But when you are a new parent, sleep deprivation is normal. You're going to be sleepy, especially with a newborn who's waking up every 2 hours, or even when they start sleeping through the night. Or at least I'll just say, like, one of my mom friends gave me the advice that sometimes it can be hard to get to sleep. So make sure to take naps during the day, as well as do your best to sleep when they're asleep at night. But as a first time mom, sometimes you might struggle with just not really being able to sleep, like always wanting to make sure like you're okay, and then make sure the baby's okay, and then wanting to make sure my husband's okay. That, just it's hard to turn my brain off in order to go to sleep. So therefore, of course, you're going to be tired. And I was so concerned with not looking tired so that no one would like have negative thoughts about me taking time off, or like, oh, she's first time mom and she looks exhausted. She looks terrible. I didn't want anyone to think that of me. And because of that, I sacrificed my own skin health just to keep up this facade of me being good and me having everything together. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be good. It's okay to not have everything together. And sometimes I wonder to myself, how many years have I spent sacrificing things that were really important to me for something that was trivial in comparison? You compromise your skin health just to make sure that people you may not see again or may not see for a long time, so that they can think well of you and think highly of you based on a facade, the outside look, instead of the content of your character. What was that about? Yeah, I definitely paid for it because I was very uncomfortable. And this was 2 days before a major event for my husband. And we were going to, go together. And of course, I want to look good for myself, but I also want to look good for him. And we're a reflection of each other when we're out and about. So, I'm not trying to embarrass him, I'm not trying to embarrass myself. And I remember the day of the event, putting on makeup, and I still had the hives and my skin was still patchy. And for the most part, like the foundation that I was using, it definitely had like that blurring and that softening effect. And because of the hives, everything was just so patchy. Like nothing was going on smoothly the way that it normally would if I had taken care of my skin. And I remember feeling so embarrassed and so self-conscious. And also prior to the event, I remember I had made a story post on one of my social media platforms. And I was saying, I wanted to come out of my comfort zone when it comes to greeting people, especially people that I'm meeting like for the first time. So I know everyone is not necessarily comfortable with physical touch. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I hug everybody. I'll definitely read my audience, but I wanted to do more than just the polite, hey, how you doing? Nice smile. Maybe it's going so far as to give a compliment, or if I can read the person correctly and I know that they are a hugger, or they tell me that they are a hugger, like being comfortable giving a hug as well. And not necessarily trying to be fake, but more so wanting to do more than what I would normally do, to show myself like friendly and approachable, because you never know what people are going through, where a simple smile, a hug, a compliment, what have you, will make a huge difference in their day. You can have a lasting impact on someone by coming out of your own bubble and seeing past what's going on with you, to just be able to connect with someone for longer than a millisecond. So, I made this post. I'm gonna be super comfortable hugging people, smiling, making jokes when appropriate, giving compliments, and my skin was just on fire. And I had these patches all over the place. So here was a perfect opportunity for me to connect with people. And because I had made it such an important point to look a certain way, now I was going to have to cut off from people, which is what I did not want to do in the first place. And I wonder how many times all of us have done that, where we sacrifice something that's very important in exchange for something that pales in comparison. So I just want to encourage men and women alike out there, whatever makes you you, don't sacrifice that just because maybe you're struggling to be comfortable with yourself. If you have sensitive skin, you have sensitive skin. It is what it is. There are products out there to help you. There are services out there, dermatologists, and a lot of the information that you can find, whether it be on Pinterest, Google. I know that doesn't necessarily substitute for a doctor's professional opinion and what they might offer as far as prognosis and treatment, but we are helpers one to another. Sometimes you can find a natural home remedy and that might work for you better than a prescription. But yeah, just use that example because sensitive skin is one of the things that I deal with. And when I try to cover it up and try to pretend that it's not there, that's when it backfires. And so whatever flaws, quirks, things that maybe you think people might not accept about you that you try to cover up, eventually they're going to come out anyway. So rather than trying to cover up who you are, rather than trying to pretend to be something that you're not, and in the end result is you sacrificing a piece of you that's really important, just be you. Just be comfortable. Do what you need to do so that at the end of the day, you can have a clear conscience. You can go to sleep at night. You can be at peace and your mind can be at ease because you decided to be true to you. And I'm just really grateful to God that when I wasn't true to myself, he still remained consistent. He still remained faithful to me. So even when I made decisions that basically said to him, I'm going to just do my own thing. I don't know that I want to be really bold and out there as far as my faith is concerned because I don't want to offend anyone. He didn't say, okay, well, I'm just going to stop loving you then because you're not loving me the way that I love you. Yeah, so at the end of the day, don't compromise. Don't sacrifice things that you cannot get back for a moment of a perfect facade or for a temporary covering of what you think is a flaw, because we overcome by our testimony. So instead of letting it control you, instead of letting it shame you, make sure that you take the time to just be true to yourself. Yeah, so like I said, it's definitely a bit more of a serious topic, and I had postponed doing this for a long time, but I'm glad that I'm doing it now, and I hope that this encourages someone to, what's the word I'm looking for? Just encourage you to just be yourself. Don't try to fit into whatever mold society might try to place you in as far as beauty, success, and whatever construct society might determine to be correct. Because at the end of the day, when we take our last breath and we close our eyes for the last time, we have to face God and his approval at the end of the day is what matters most to me. And I know that might not be everybody's testimony, and that's fine. But for my fellow believers, let's be genuine. Let's not be afraid to be transparent. Let's not be afraid to be vulnerable, because the world is hurting and people are out there looking for solutions. They're looking for someone to say, hey, I don't have it all together. Hey, life is not always perfect. But at least with Jesus, you don't have to go through this by yourself, whatever your this may be. So be encouraged. At this time, we're still on quarantine, so stay safe, practice your social distancing, wash your hands, and whatever you have to offer, make sure that you do share it, especially during this time. We're all sitting in the house anyway. might as well share your gifts, share your talents. And make sure that you have sound when you do. Okay. Well, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.